September 14, 1939. Dawn breaks timidly over Warsaw, a veil of gray smoke filtering the first rays of sun, as if the sky itself is ashamed of what's to come. The air carries an oppressive weight, blending the damp scent of autumn with the distant sour tang of old gunpowder, while synagogue bells echo softly through the narrow streets of the Naluki Jewish quarter. It's Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, a day of prayers and renewed hope for the 393,000 Jews in the city, a third of its pulsing soul. Families gather in crowded temples, voices raised in ancient chants, the aroma of sweet breads and lit candles filling the air. But the deep rumble of engines on the horizon tears through the silence, growing like a biblical thunder. German Luftwaffe bombers dive on the Polish capital with unrelenting fury, the wail of sirens mixing with the panic of crowds rushing to makeshift shelters. Explosions shake the ground, glass shatters in cascades, and flames devour entire blocks of Naluki, igniting synagogues full of worshippers. The acrid smell of burning wood and scorched flesh rises in black clouds, while screams pierce the chaos, mothers calling for lost children, men dragging the wounded through bloodied streets. On this holy day, hell descends on those seeking redemption. Hundreds fall under the bombs, blood-staining sacred pavements in profane red. Eyewitness accounts speak of a bloody aerial massacre, with at least 2,000 souls lost in Warsaw so far. The Jewish quarter reduced to smoldering rubble, 20 blocks in voracious flames. The tremor of detonations reverberates in the bones, a visceral reminder that war spares no holidays or faith. While Warsaw burns, in southern Poland, German forces advance like an inexorable tide, crossing rivers and plains with the clamor of tanks and marching boots. In Przemysl, a city divided by the San River where 17,000 Jews make up a third of its inhabitants, the gates open to the invader at midday. The sound of sporadic gunfire echoes through the alleys, followed by the muffled sobs of families locked in their homes. German soldiers, in immaculate uniforms contrasting the road dust, drag 43 prominent Jewish citizens, rabbis, merchants, community leaders, to a shadowy courtyard. Brutal beatings resound like dry thunder, bones cracking under rifle butts and kicks. The prisoners' cold sweat mixing with hot blood trickling across the cobblestone floor. Asher Gitter, a middle-aged man whose eyes still shine with memories of his son who emigrated to America dreaming of reunion, is hauled among them. Cold executions follow, bullets piercing chests in short bursts, bodies collapsing in disordered piles, the metallic stench of fresh blood hanging in the humid air. At least 600 Jews are killed in this initial wave of terror before the city changes hands, a dark prelude to the deportations to come. Dread spreads like mist, Polish neighbors watching in paralyzed silence, hearts racing with fear of being next. Far away, in cities occupied for days, the gears of oppression turn with cruel precision. In Sieradz, the day dawns with the crackle of makeshift fires, where 5 Jews and 2 Poles are summarily executed, ropes creaking on branches, or shots echoing in shallow ditches, the soil absorbing the slow spill of life. The wind carries the widow's lament, a low guttural sound lost in the distant rumble of motorized columns. In Czestochowa, the German civil administration decrees the forced handover of all Jewish industrial and commercial properties to Aryans, regardless of whether the owner has fled or not. Once vibrant shops of fabrics and tools are looted under watchful eyes, the jingle of stolen keys mixing with the sobs of families evicted to the cold streets, where wet asphalt reflects their hunched silhouettes. Hungry and exhausted, they carry belongings in tattered sacks, the invisible weight of humiliation bowing their shoulders. Further south in Piotrkow, a new law forbids Jews on the streets after 5 p.m., the setting sun casting long shadows like accusing fingers. Przemysl, 27, a young weaver with hands calloused from the loom, hurries home at 5:05, his heart pounding in his chest. A German soldier, a rigid silhouette against the dusk, raises his rifle without hesitation. The dry crack cuts the air, and Przemysl falls, hot blood soaking his shirt, glazed eyes fixed on the darkening sky. His body lies there, a silent warning to those who dare defy the curfew, the fresh smell of gunpowder mingling with the earthy odor of recent death. To the east, the Polish army fights with fierce tenacity, but the retreat is a collective agony, communication routes bombed mercilessly by enemy aviation. Near Przemysl, after crossing the San River on improvised bridges creaking under the weight of cannons and exhausted men, the Polish 10th Infantry Division drags itself across the bare plain. The arid soil cracks under mud-caked boots, sweat trickling down backs like cold rivers of dread. Suddenly, the sharp buzz of Stukas descends like predators, sirens howling in a mechanical wail that chills the spine. Bombs explode in smoking craters, earth and fragments flying in suffocating clouds, the boom reverberating like a living earthquake. There are no shelters, just shallow ditches in the fields, where soldiers throw themselves, faces pressed into wet mud, hearts racing against their chests. Horses neigh in agony, bodies torn by shrapnel. 35 of them falling lifeless after a single attack, the stench of exposed entrails rising in the day's heat. A Polish officer, diary trembling in dirty hands, describes the scene as the march of a biblical people, driven by the wrath of the heavens, lost in an endless desert. Columns of refugees mingle with the military, wagons creaking under feeble bundles of possessions, children whimpering in exhausted mothers' arms, road dust clinging to skin like a second layer of despair. The Luftwaffe attacks without respite, machine guns hissing, turning the withdrawal into an exodus of pain, where every step echoes the uncertainty of tomorrow. These threads of horror weave the tapestry of September 14, a day where faith collides with fury and hope dissolves into ashes. In Warsaw, Przemysl, Czestochowa, and Piotrkow, the German advance is no mere conquest. It's an open wound in humanity's flesh, bleeding, broken promises, and severed lives. Polish soldiers, Jewish civilians, and ordinary families feel the visceral weight of war. The grounds tremor, the burn in lungs from inhaled smoke, the bitter taste of tears mixed with dust. Thousands fall, not in cold numbers, but in interrupted stories. A father who won't return for next year's shofar, a young man whose American dream unravels in bullets. The Eastern Plain, once a cradle of harvests, now echoes with the lament of a shattered army pursued by winged shadows. As the sun sets, tinting the horizon in bloody orange, Europe holds its breath, knowing tomorrow will bring more darkness. To not miss the next day, subscribe, like, and comment.